If a book was literally banned for being too powerful for humanity, and I've used it to close over $5 million firsthand in cash collected and set revenue records for 3 different companies that I taught this to the sales team for, would you want the best lessons from this book entirely for free? Stick with me because I'm going to show you how to handle objections at a world-class level, and with a little bit of practice, it will feel easy to push deals past the finish line. Quick context, a friend of mine paid over $1,000 for this book and said it made him over 100 times that back in 1 to 2 years. And another friend of mine made over $10 million in profit last year. And he says that this is the greatest book on sales ever written. And I'm giving away all of the best lessons from this book right here for free. And I know you closers are excited to hear about the game-changing objection handles, but before we get into that, we have to go over the pre-close, because if you don't pre-close right, you're gonna create tons of extra objections that you don't even need to handle in the first place. And there's 2 big mistakes I see with the pre-close people making over and over again. The first mistake is asking for the close before you see a buy signal. You see, before you drop price and ask for the close, you should know that they are ready to close. And the way you do this is by finding those buy signals. Sometimes they're obvious. For example, when I was closing for a real estate marketing service, there was a call where within about a minute, the real estate broker that was the prospect essentially said, I buy real estate marketing services all the time, and as long as you show me that these leads are good, I already got my card out and I'm ready to go. So I just showed him that the leads were good, and basically we skipped the entire rest of the sales process, and I collected 2.5K down in just a matter of minutes. And to make the buy signals easier to see, we use feeler questions, and I usually do this during the presentation. If you want to see the whole presentation strategy that I use, I made a whole YouTube video on that and the perfect sales call structure, so feel free to check that out. But anyways, feeler questions include things like, how's everything sounding so far? Could you see this working for you? Could you see how this could solve your problem? Or could you see how this could help you reach your goal? And when you ask questions like these, the key that you're looking for is tonality. For example, when you ask, can you see this working for you? And they respond with an enthusiastic yes, then they're ready to close. But if it's a flat yeah, especially if they seemed more excited for the rest of the call, then they're probably not ready to close, and they probably need either more information or they have an objection that you need to discover and handle first. So basically, when you throw out a feeler question and you get a flat response, call it out. Just say, hey, you don't seem that excited. What's kind of going through your head right now? And sometimes you can ask a feeler question or 2 and feel like they might be ready, but you're just not quite sure. And when that happens, I ask, so are you ready to get started? And I only use this one as needed because it is a higher level of pressure. And if you put too much pressure on someone, then you can break trust, right? However, if you think they're just about ready, this can be that final confirmation to get them to the finish line. So now that you can spot buy signals like a top producer, I need to jump into the second big mistake, which is all about the way you ask for the close. And with that, there's a few keys that will help you nail it every time. First off, you want to tie their main motive to the decision and then ask cleanly. As an example, I'm going to be selling sales training for this example. So to finally get you out of that job you hate and into a remote position where you can make some real money, it's going to be $6,000. So how do you want to handle that? And here's why this works so well. You see, sales is helping someone decide to make a change, and the motive is the cause of action. And in this case, it's the cause, it's the reason that makes them want to make a change. So when you put the number one reason that makes them want to make a change right before you ask for the money, their attention is going to be on that reason and less on the cost. By the way, if you find it difficult to find someone's number one main motive, then I actually break down exactly how to do that at an elite level in the perfect sales call structure video. So if you're in B2C, this is an absolute requirement. I personally think it's the most important part of the call. So if you don't have full confidence in your ability to find someone's motive, definitely check that out. The next thing that you need to nail is you need to sound confident, especially about money. I've coached over 200 remote sales reps, and half of them sounded like they were about to pee their pants the first time they were asking for money. It's going to be $6,000. And when you sound scared, you crush the potential buyer's confidence. And people need confidence that this is going to work and this is going to be a good decision and they're going to get the results that they're looking for in order to spend money and move forward with the deal. So if you don't have full confidence asking for thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars, don't worry, most people don't either without some practice, but here's how you fix that. First things first, you need to be closed on the offer. One of my mentors who closed over $300 million firsthand in cash collected would always say, if you are not closed on the offer, you cannot close. You need to make sure that you have full confidence that your offer is legitimate. Your offer helps people. Your offer gets people way better results than what they pay for. If you have doubt, you need to make sure you have that confidence every single day before you hop on a single call. And if you are on a crappy offer, then you need a new one. You'll feel better, you'll sleep better, it'll make your whole life better if you actually feel good about what you sell. And if you don't know by now, Aura, Optimal Recruitment and Automation, is a high ticket sales recruitment company, and we have nothing to sell reps. I'm tired of all these people selling reps things without helping them get into a better position. So all of our training, all of our recruitment services, our job board of free proven opportunities is 100% free for reps. So definitely check that out. Links in the description. And then the second thing you need to work on to have full confidence asking for the close is reps. If you've ever played sports or an instrument or cooked at a high level, you understand the power of doing it over and over again and how that elite confidence and skill set can only really come from doing it over and over again. So I would practice the closing line at least 100 times. So when there is thousands of dollars or more on the line, you're ready for it. And the third area to focus on to maximize your confidence is mindset and identity. And this will not only give you more confidence for the entire sales call, but it will literally give you more confidence in every area of your life. And I made a whole video on just this topic. There's going to be a link in the description for that one too. And once you confidently ask for the deal, you need to shut up. And this is because if they genuinely want to do this and move forward with the deal, then a lot of times they need a moment to process how exactly they're going to do it. They're going to need to process some thoughts, process some finances, maybe even some emotions, right? And if you interrupt them, you are sending the deal backwards. It's like you are about to score a touchdown and like right before you're there, you start running the opposite direction, right? It's literally, I've seen it kill so many deals. So it's probably the hardest, most uncomfortable part of all of this, but you need to be able to shut up, when you're right at the finish line. Now, the last thing that we need to cover before getting into the objections is the difference between comments and objections. And we handle objections, but we don't handle comments, right? So if someone goes, wow, or that's expensive, or that's a lot, or I didn't expect that, right? Then in that case, you either give a mild, quick acknowledgement or you completely stay silent. Alrighty, closers. I know y'all been excited for this part because we're finally getting into their famous banned objection handling techniques from the book Big League Sales by Les Dane. And the way the legend goes is decades ago, someone spent millions of dollars to buy all of the rights to this book just to simply stop printing it. And so they would stop making new copies because he said it was too powerful for humanity. And probably the most famous claim within this book is that 90% of objections aren't even real. You see, most objections are really just fear. The prospect is scared, they're uncomfortable, and they don't want to be put on the spot, and they're just looking for anything they could say to take the pressure off, right? Oh, I need to think about it. Oh, I need some more time. Oh, I wasn't trying to buy anything right now. But the real reason is fear. In fact, many of the greatest sales reps I've ever met said that sales reps wouldn't exist if people didn't let fear stop them from doing what was best for them. And many people say that world-class closers are masters at removing people's fear and replacing it with confidence. So, as I give you the specifics on this strategy, that's the deeper level, right? At the deeper level, we're just really removing people's fear and replacing it with confidence. But the specific strategy on the surface level is we take their objection, aka their reason not to move forward, and since it's not real and therefore not a true reason, we actually use it as a reason to move forward. So, starting with the first objection, we're gonna go back to using sales training as an example. So, someone says, that's expensive, I can't afford it. Then you can respond with something like, hey, I get that $6,000 is a lot of money for you right now. And that's actually exactly why you need to do this, right? Because once you're finally hit that goal of 10K a month that you've been wanting all these years, you're not gonna let $6,000 stop you from living the life you want again, right? So, you ready to make the jump? All right, rapid fire objection number 2. I need to think about it. So first off, I usually would just isolate this, like, okay, in a skeptical tone, what do you need to think about? Then if they come back with, yeah, I just really need to think about it, then I'd ask something like, okay, well, how long have you been thinking about advancing your career and growing your income and doing something like high ticket sales? And then they'll say something like 4 years. And then I'll say something like, wow, 4 years. Well, since you've been thinking about this for 4 years, it sounds like you've already done a ton of thinking about this. And the thing is that thinking about it isn't really going to get you the results that you're looking for. So since you've been thinking about this for 4 years, I think it's about time that you finally make it happen and finally make the jump. Sound good? Next objection, time objection, same thing as the think about it objection, right? How long have you been thinking about this? Oh, 5 years, that's exactly why you should do this, yada, yada, yada. And then we're gonna move on to the wife objection, because that one actually is the most sensitive and the one that I usually see people struggle with the most. So with this one, you kind of gotta warm them up a little bit before hitting them with a reason to do this. And I usually like to open it up with something like, yeah, happy wife, happy life. How long have you been together? They might say something like 4 years. Excellent. I hope to get there one day myself. And is she generally supportive of you and your career moves? And if they say yes, I'll say excellent. And then I'll ask something like, does she have experience in high ticket sales or whatever industry that whatever product or service I'm selling is in? And then they'll say no, like 98% of the time. Then I'll say, okay, well, how about instead of stressing her out by trying to make her learn this entire new industry and all of that, how about we just get started? And that way you can scale your income to do all those things you want to do with your family. Like, imagine how she's going to look at you when you're able to spend more time with her and are just succeeding at a new level. And notice how I say look at you and not think/feel, because sometimes when you say think or feel, it can make it much more likely that they'll be focused on getting yelled at for the price or something like that. But when you say look at you, not only are they more likely to imagine what being successful with this new product or service would look like and how their wife would look at them, when they imagine the person that they love looking them in the eye with a new level of success, it just hits way harder. And now that we know how to handle the fear-based objections, which are 90% of the objections, I'm going to show you how to handle legitimate objections, which happens about 10% of the time. Some objections are real to the prospects, right? And the thing about a legitimate objection, it doesn't even actually need to be a real barrier that is preventing them from moving forward. They just have to believe that it's a real reason not to move forward. So when you hear legitimate objection, this is how you handle it. Step one, you want to confirm that this is something they really want to do, right? This is in a way isolating, but it also is taking their attention off that barrier and putting it back on to the results that they're looking to achieve. And step two is to have them propose the way forward. And you can make suggestions, but ultimately they need to decide how they're going to move forward. For example, when I handled the spouse objection, right, on a call, and at the end of the handle, this lady said that she absolutely could not move forward without talking to her husband first. Then I asked, well, where does she want to go from here, right? And she says, I just need to talk to him. And then I made the suggestion that a lot of times when spouses talk about a 6K, 10K plus service to their spouse, the first thing their spouse asks is how much does it cost? And once they hear the cost, they don't want to hear a single other thing about it, and they never get to really understand the value of it. So I basically suggested that we should hop on a Zoom with her spouse and I, and that's what we did. I basically took them through a custom, whole sales call and all that good stuff. And sure enough, they put 6K, paid in full, voila. And a lot of times you'll hear that people will just think they really truly can't afford something, right? And if you have financing options, right, then you should have that in your process anyways, to just suggest that and bring that up and let them know what's available, right? If they can use credit or other people's money, right? But if their credit's tanked or you don't have access to that, then essentially you can say, okay, but this is something you really want to do, right? Absolutely. Great. So let's just get creative for a second. Like, let's say theoretically that it was possible. Like, what are some ideas that you could have on how you could possibly move forward, right? There's no dumb ideas here. Like, what kind of ideas do you have? And just make it super light and open. And a lot of times, like, this person will just come up with something like, actually, I do have a retirement account and I could actually use that. And then could we do like half down in a payment plan or something like that, right? Or if you have payment plans, you can always bring that up too, and as a suggestion, right? And with this handle, I've seen crazy things, right? I've seen like a guy just like go freaking thrift shopping and flipped like ATVs and all types of crazy stuff and come back months later like, I got the money now, you know, or another guy like sold his car to like get started with the product or service. So this doesn't work every time, right? Legitimate objections are harder than the scared, fear-based objections, but you will be surprised at how many times that this can be that last thing to push them over the finish line. And then once you push them over the finish line, there's something that all the top level pros do that you absolutely need to do to improve their experience, get more referrals, and minimize chargebacks and refunds. First things first, the faster you can get them what they paid for, the better. If you go to a restaurant and it could be your favorite restaurant in the world, and if it takes 4 hours to get your food after ordering it, you're gonna be pissed no matter how good the food tastes. Nobody likes to wait longer than they need to get what they paid for, right? So I always like to get them access to whatever I can immediately. If you can get them access to an online course, do that on the closing call. If you can get them access to their onboarding call, do that on the call. If you can get them scheduled for a coaching session or their next steps, always try to get them access to as much as possible, as fast as possible. They're going to be way more satisfied with their decision, way more likely to succeed with it because the interest level and the motivation level is highest when they get started until they start getting results. So it just makes it way more likely that they're gonna get great results and they're not going to charge back and refund. And finally, I always like to reinforce the decision before hopping off the call. Once again, Matt, I just want to say congrats. I'm super excited to see your success in high ticket sales, man. I can't wait to see your success story. Keep in touch, man. And finally, I cannot say this enough. The confidence comes with reps in practice, right? So the more you practice each one of these strategies, objection handles, closing lines, the more confidence you're going to have. And then next thing you know, you'll have $6,000, $100,000 on the line. So far, my biggest deal so far was $476,000 in one deal. And when the pressure's on the line, you're gonna be ready. With that, if you wanna learn how to remove the majority of objections before they even happen, and especially at the beginning of a sales call, make sure to watch the perfect sales call structure video. This is the exact strategy I used to make over $250,000 in commissions in 1 year, and I trained 3 teams on it, all set revenue records. And with that, if you enjoyed this, please share this with someone who'd appreciate leveling up their closing skills, and I appreciate your likes. Definitely subscribe. I'm dropping all my best gems here on YouTube. And in the next video, I'm showing you how to access the greatest opportunities in the high ticket remote space. So definitely check that one out. Let's go.